Hey everyone, so today I want to talk about dependency injection. Now, dependency injection is a design pattern that is used everywhere, and that's because it makes decoupling dependencies on your app easier. Now, imagine that you had an app, right? And you had a feature that you could change the background color, right? So you had an app and you had a feature where you could change the background color. And that's pretty trivial, right? We could do that without dependencies, without anything, right? But imagine that you wanted to make sure that in case the app would to expand, you had everything ready to do other DOM manipulations such as text manipulation and CSS manipulation, things like that, right? And for that, instead of using pure JavaScript or any other type of system to change the background color, you decided to add jQuery to your app. But you weren't sure if jQuery would be around for more 5 or 10 years, and you wanted to make sure that your app was decoupled as much as possible from jQuery, right? So what you could do to decouple it from your app was to create a service that imported jQuery, right? So you could have something like a DOM manipulation service, and that guy would actually import jQuery. That seems a little bit decoupled, right? You only import it inside of DOM manipulation service, and in case you need to change jQuery in the future, you can just change it in one place, right? But that would not be 100% dependency injection, because dependency injection would require you to actually inject jQuery inside of your DOM manipulation service, and that would actually make things even easier, because let's say that you want to swap out jQuery in the future for maybe just JavaScript, right? You could just change the injection from jQuery to JavaScript. Now let me show you the code to actually do that. So I have an app here called Dependency Injection Example, and if I open it, you can see it's just a black background with the Dependency Injection Example title here. And let's create initially the services that I mentioned, right? So we would have a service folder here, and inside of the service folder, if you look here, we would have the DOM manipulation service, right? The DOM manipulation service dot JavaScript, and we would export this class, and inside of this class we would have a function which would be the change the background color function, right? So we would have change background color. Let's receive the element ID because we need to know what element we want to change the color of, and also the color. And then if we were going to use the first way that I mentioned it, of directly using jQuery as a dependency, we would have to import it directly on the DOM manipulation service, right? And we would use it to change the element ID, the background of the element ID that was supplied. So we would use this .css background color. My jQuery skills are kind of rusty, so apologize for that. So background color, I think we just supply the color here and we should be good. So if we were to call it inside of our main JavaScript file, which is the entry point of our app here, we would have something like, and we could do DOM manipulation service dot change background color to, let's use, again, we have a div with ID app here. Let's use that guy here, the ID and also the color. Let's change the background color to be blue. So if I open the dependency injection example, I think I forgot to export it. Let me save it. Yeah, now I actually forgot to save the file. So as you can see here, we now have a background color of blue, and you can change that to green and any other color, right? So we are directly using jQuery here, and our idea is to actually isolate it, right? So we could swap it out later as you can see, we are actually importing the $sign from jQuery and using it directly, right? And that's what we want to change. So let's create another service called jQuery service.javascript, and we could do the same thing that we did on DOM manipulation service, and instead of directly calling the jQuery library on our DOM manipulation service, we will instead remove it from here. We don't need that anymore, and we would instead have a constructor here, and we would supply the jQuery service. Let's call it the element changer service, just to have a name here. And then what we can do is create the element changer service, and element changer service this dot element changer service. So it's actually this, right? This element changer service, which is just a variable, a placeholder variable that I'm creating to receive the dependency. So what we can do is receive it here, and instead of using jQuery, we would just actually call the dependency that I created here, and we want to do that passing in the change background color method, passing in the ID, the element ID, and also the color, right? And what we have to do next, and this is where we connect everything. So we have the DOM manipulation service that we were calling and directly calling change background color because we were directly using jQuery on our DOM manipulation service, right? But now, if you see here, we have a constructor that receives element changer service, and our element changer service is actually jQuery for now. So we have to supply it here, right? So we can do a new jQuery service, and we should be good. That should work in the same way that we had it before, right? As you can see, it's green here, and we are still using jQuery, but as you can see, we have decoupled it, right? If I change the background color to be red, it changes to red, right? So it still works. And for example, if I actually use the title here instead of the app, you can see that it changes the title, right? So it still works like as expected. But let's say that you are tired of jQuery. Now you want to use vanilla JavaScript. You want to use like a pure implementation of JavaScript to change the background color. So what we can do is create another service called vanilla JavaScript service dot JavaScript, and we would have something similar to jQuery service, but instead of using jQuery, we would use just JavaScript, right? So we need to do a document get element by ID, passing in the ID, and changing the CSS, the style dot background color to be color, right? And that should work just as well. So we were using jQuery service. If I swap it out to use vanilla JavaScript service, and also let me change the title here of the class and import it here. If I use the new vanilla JavaScript service, you can see that you actually have to equal that to color, and that should work, right? So it works just as expected, but now you're using JavaScript, right, instead of jQuery. And if I swap that out again to be jQuery, you can see that it still works, right? And that's dependency injection. You are injecting the dependency that we are using on the DOM manipulation service, and that actually decouples our app from our dependencies, right? And that's basically it. That's dependency injection, guys. Of course, if on a real app, you could use that for requests and everything. That is just a trivial example, right? But I hope that makes sense for you guys, and have a good one. That's all.